Somewhere in a cold military camp, nearly 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world sat alone by candlelight, writing notes to himself. He wasn't writing about victory. He wasn't writing about wealth or glory or power. He was writing about how to stay calm. That man was Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. He faced plague, war, betrayal by his closest general, and the death of his own children. And yet, history remembers him as one of the calmest, most composed human beings who ever lived. How? Not because his life was easy, but because he practiced a set of daily habits, small, quiet disciplines that trained his mind the way an athlete trains his body. Today, you're going to learn those 7 habits, not as abstract philosophy, but as practical tools you can start using tonight, when your boss criticizes you, when traffic makes you late, when someone disrespects you, when anxiety keeps you awake at 3 in the morning. Because here's the truth the Stoics understood. Peace is not something you find. Peace is something you build, habit by habit, day by day. So take a breath, slow down, and stay with me until the end. Because the 7th habit is the one that ties all the others together, and it's the one most people never learn. Let's begin. Before we start, understand one thing clearly. Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions. It is not about becoming cold, or distant, or pretending nothing hurts. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, felt anger, grief, and fear just like you do. The difference is, they refused to be ruled by those feelings. They built an inner fortress, a place inside the mind that no insult, no loss, no disaster could ever break into. Seneca called the untrained mind a slave to fortune. The trained mind, he said, stands firm while everything around it moves. These 7 habits are how you build that fortress, one stone at a time. The first habit sounds strange at first. Every morning, the Stoics imagined their day going wrong. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulties. Marcus Aurelius began his mornings by telling himself, "Today I will meet people who are rude, ungrateful, dishonest, and difficult." He didn't say this to become bitter. He said it so that when it happened, and it always happened, he was never caught off guard. Think about the last time you truly lost your temper. Was it the event itself that broke you, or was it the surprise? The feeling of, "This shouldn't be happening to me." That's the secret. Anger and anxiety feed on surprise. When you expect difficulty, difficulty loses half its power. So here's how you practice this habit. Every morning, before you check your phone, take 60 seconds. Ask yourself 3 questions. What could go wrong today? How might people test my patience? And how will the calmest version of me respond? Maybe your commute will be delayed. Maybe a colleague will take credit for your work. Maybe your plans will collapse completely. Picture it, and then picture yourself handling it with composure. This is not negative thinking. This is rehearsal. A soldier who trains for battle doesn't want war. He simply refuses to be unprepared for it. A sailor who studies storms doesn't summon them. He simply makes sure they cannot sink him. The unprepared mind treats every problem as an emergency. The prepared mind treats it as an appointment. Something expected. Something already rehearsed. And notice what happens on the days when nothing goes wrong. You don't just feel relief, you feel gratitude. The ordinary day you would have ignored suddenly feels like a gift. That is the double reward of this habit: armor against bad days, and appreciation for good ones. Expect the storm, and the storm can never surprise you again. The second habit is the very heart of Stoicism. If you learn nothing else from this video, learn this. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave, who was crippled by his master, who owned almost nothing, became one of the freest men in history. And his entire philosophy began with a single sentence: some things are up to us, and some things are not. Think about what you can actually control in this life: your opinions, your choices, your effort, your response. That's it. That's the whole list. Everything else, the economy, the weather, other people's words, other people's opinions of you, the past, the results of your hard work, all of it lies outside your control. And here is where almost all human suffering comes from. We pour our energy into the things we cannot control, and we neglect the one thing we can, ourselves. You can't control whether people respect you. You can control whether you act respectably. You can't control the outcome of the interview. You can control your preparation. You can't control what was said about you yesterday. You can control whether you carry it into tomorrow. The Stoics compared life to an archer. The archer controls his training, his focus, his aim, his release. But the moment the arrow leaves the bow, a gust of wind may move it, the target may shift. The outcome was never fully his. Only the effort was. So practice this. Whenever you feel stress rising, pause and ask one question. Is this inside my control or outside it? If it's inside your control, then stop worrying and start acting. Worry is only useful when it becomes work. If it's outside your control, then release it. Not because you don't care, but because carrying it changes nothing except the weight on your own shoulders. A man who fights the wind exhausts himself. A man who adjusts his sails moves forward. This single habit, sorting every problem into mine and not mine, can dissolve half of your anxiety in a week. Try it, and you'll see. The third habit is the smallest in size and the largest in consequence. It is the pause. Between the moment something happens to you and the moment you respond, there is a gap. It might last only a second, but inside that second lives your entire character. Someone insults you. The heat rises in your chest. Words gather behind your teeth. In that instant, you stand at a crossroads, react, or respond. The reaction is automatic. It belongs to your impulses. The response is chosen. It belongs to you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we always hold the power to have no opinion, to let a provocation simply pass, like a cloud crossing the sky. The insult only becomes an injury when you sign for the delivery. Epictetus put it even more sharply. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about events. The traffic doesn't stress you. Your story about the traffic does. The criticism doesn't wound you. Your interpretation of it does. So how do you train the pause? 3 simple steps. First, breathe before you speak. 1 slow breath, that's all. It sounds too simple to matter, and that's exactly why most people never do it. But that single breath moves you from the reactive brain to the thinking brain. Second, name what you feel. Silently say to yourself, this is anger, or this is fear. The moment you name an emotion, you separate from it. You are no longer inside the storm. You are watching it. Third, ask the Stoic question, will my next words make this better, or just make me feel better for 5 seconds? Anger, Seneca warned, is a brief madness, and its favorite trick is convincing you that reacting is strength. It isn't. Any fool can explode. It takes a trained mind to remain still. Remember this, the person who can provoke you controls you. The pause is how you take that control back. You cannot choose what happens in the world, but in that one sacred second, you always choose who you are. The fourth habit is the one modern life has almost erased, and the one we need most. The Stoics deliberately made themselves uncomfortable, on purpose, in small doses. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would set aside days each month to live like the poorest. Plain food, rough clothes, a hard bed. And while doing it, he would ask himself one question. Is this what I was so afraid of? And every time, the answer was no. Why does this matter for you? Because most of your anxiety is not fear of events. It's fear of discomfort. Fear of losing the job is really fear of a harder life. Fear of rejection is really fear of an uncomfortable feeling. Fear of failure is really fear of how failure will feel. The Stoics discovered that when you voluntarily walk towards small discomforts, big fears begin to shrink. You prove to your own nervous system, I can handle this. I have already survived it, by choice. So how do you practice this in the modern world? Small, deliberate acts. Take a cold shower, and notice that you survive it. Skip a meal occasionally, and notice that hunger is uncomfortable, not unbearable. Leave your phone at home for an evening, and sit with the restlessness until it passes. Wake up an hour earlier than you must, and give that hour to something difficult. Say no to a small pleasure today, simply to remind yourself that you are the master, and desire is the servant. Comfort, when it becomes constant, quietly becomes a cage. The man who cannot tolerate a cold morning, a boring hour, or a plain meal has handed his peace of mind to circumstances. The moment life removes his comforts, and life always does, eventually, he collapses. But the man who is trained in discomfort walks through hard times, like someone returning to familiar ground. He has been here before. He came here willingly. That is the paradox the Stoics understood. The person who regularly chooses hardship becomes almost impossible to threaten with it. Train in peace, so you remain peaceful in war. The fifth habit is a shift in perspective so powerful that Marcus Aurelius used it in his darkest hours. The Stoics called it the view from above. Whenever a problem consumed him, Marcus would imagine rising above it. First above his own room, then above the city of Rome, then above the empire, until he was looking down at the whole of human life from the height of the stars. From up there he could see armies and markets, weddings and funerals, men fighting over borders and titles and coins, entire generations appearing and vanishing like waves on a shore. And the problem that had felt enormous minutes ago suddenly looked exactly as big as it truly was. Small, temporary, survivable. Try it right now, with whatever is weighing on you. That argument you keep replaying, will it matter in 1 year? That embarrassing moment you can't stop thinking about, does anyone else even remember it? That setback that feels like the end of the world. Zoom out 10 years. Is it the end? Or is it a chapter? This is not about pretending your problems don't exist. Your problems are real, but their size is a matter of distance. Stand too close to anything, even a pebble, and it will block out the sun. The view from above also does something unexpected. It restores gratitude. From that height, you don't just see your problems shrink, you see your blessings clearly. A body that works. People who care whether you come home. Another morning you were not promised. Most of the things that steal your calm are things that, from a distance, you can barely see. So practice this daily. When stress grips you, close your eyes and rise. Above the room, above the city, above the year. Perspective is not escape. Perspective is accuracy, and an accurate mind is a calm mind. The sixth habit is the deepest of them all, and for many people, the hardest to accept. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate, not tolerance of fate, not surrender to fate, love. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. That was his goal for the mind, to become the kind of fire that turns every event, even the painful ones, into fuel. Think about your own past for a moment. The rejection that forced you to grow, the failure that taught you what no success ever could, the loss that revealed who truly stood beside you, the closed door that pushed you down the path you were meant to walk. At the time, each one felt like an enemy. Looking back, how many of them were teachers in disguise? Amor fati means bringing that hindsight into the present. It means facing today's difficulty and saying, I would not have chosen this, but since it is here, I will use it. I will not merely endure this chapter. I will let it build me. Epictetus said, do not demand that things happen as you wish. Wish them to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly. This is not weakness. Fighting reality is the true weakness. It is a war you lose every single time, because reality has already happened. The obstacle in your path is not blocking the path. Look closer. The obstacle is the path. Every difficulty carries a hidden question. What is this here to teach me? Patience, courage, humility, strength you didn't know you had? The moment you start asking that question, something remarkable happens. Fate stops feeling like an attack and starts feeling like training. And a man in training does not curse his exercises. Accept what happened. Use what happened. And one day, perhaps, be grateful it happened. That is the love of fate, and it is the closest thing to unshakable peace a human being can possess. And now, the seventh habit, the one that binds all the others together. Every night, before sleep, the Stoics held a private court and put their own day on trial. Seneca described his ritual. When the lamp was out and the house was quiet, he would examine his entire day, every word, every action, hiding nothing from himself, excusing nothing. He asked 3 questions, and tonight, you can ask them too. First, what did I do well today? Where did I keep my patience? Tell the truth. Act with courage. Acknowledge it. Progress that goes unnoticed is progress that fades. Second, where did I go wrong? Where did I snap in anger, waste hours, break a promise to myself? Face it without drama and without excuses. The Stoics were not harsh with themselves. They were honest. Seneca would say, "I forgive you today, but do not do it again." Third, what will I do differently tomorrow? One specific thing, not 10. 1. Why does this habit matter so much? Because a life is nothing but days, and a day that is never examined is a day that teaches you nothing. Without review, you don't have 20 years of experience. You have 1 year of experience repeated 20 times. This nightly practice does something else too. It lets you put the day down. Whatever happened, the mistakes, the tensions, the unfinished business, you have faced it, judged it, and learned from it. It has no reason to follow you into your sleep, and no permission to. Marcus Aurelius filled an entire book this way, writing not for an audience, but for his own soul. We call it Meditations. Now, he simply called it to himself, 5 minutes. A notebook, total honesty, that is the whole habit. The morning habit prepares you for the day. The evening habit makes sure the day was not wasted. Between those two rituals, an entire character is built. 7 habits. Let's bring them together one last time. Prepare for difficulty each morning, so nothing catches you off guard. Sort everything into what you control and what you don't, and release the second half. Own the pause between what happens and how you respond. Choose small discomforts, so no hardship can threaten you. Take the view from above, and see your problems at their true size. Love your fate, and turn every obstacle into fuel. And end each day in honest review, so every day makes you wiser than the last. None of these habits require money. None require talent. None require permission. They require only one thing: practice. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet the only territory he truly worked to conquer was himself. You will not master these in a day. The Stoics didn't either. But start with just one habit tonight, the evening review, and within a week, you will feel the ground beneath you becoming steadier. Because in the end, this is the promise of Stoicism. The world will never be calm, but you can be. If this video brought you even one moment of clarity, share it with someone who is carrying a storm of their own. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week, we bring you more timeless wisdom from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Wisdom that has kept people calm for 2,000 years, and will keep you calm no matter what. Now tell me in the comments, which of these 7 habits will you begin tonight? Until next time, guard your mind. It is the only fortress that matters.